Hey everybody, I have something neat to share with you tonight. This is regarding the pyramid that, if you remember a while back, it was quite some time ago, I was noticing that the pyramid and the human body were similar. This is when I started doing my Mapping Osiris series of videos. And as I've said before, if you go back in time, it's great because you can actually see how I'm evolving and getting to where I am. So back then I wasn't exactly right, but you could tell I had the right idea about what was going on. And so as time has gone on, I've been trying to solve this whole placement of this, what I call pyramid of the head. This is an image called, it's a typical image called God the Father. You can see that it's right over here on the right on the stained glass window in St. Joseph Cathedral, built in 1877. It's the same cathedral I've showed you, the larger pyramid on the stained glass where you have Spirit at the very top of the pyramid, and you see this emanation coming down, and then you see Jesus down there in the middle of the pyramid. And so the clue here was that these air shafts of the king's chamber, additionally, and the actual slope of this triangle around his head matched. And so therefore I knew that I was dealing with an artist, or whoever did this, somebody who was actually showing the way the placement of the pyramid should be on the head. What I got out of this more than anything was the level, the vertical level of how it should be, where the nose is placed basically right on the line of the base of the pyramid, where the eyes are located, where the top of the head is located, and so forth. So that was a good clue. Now another clue that I got on how to place this thing was from R.A. Schwaller de Lubitsch and his book titled Ancient Egypt, Science and the Evolution of Consciousness. Now in here what we actually see is the fractal of the larger head and the smaller man. The tree itself, if you take a look at the whole tree, it's actually shaped like a head pointed to the right. And the left side of the tree is, you can see the back of the head coming down into the trunk. And you see him inside the tree, and you see his eye placed right where the pineal gland would be if the whole tree was a head itself. If you take a look at this slot that you see right here, I call it a slot that's on the kilt, that slot is a clue, because if you slide the brain stem that would fit inside the larger tree, as the tree being the head, then you would find that that brainstem would go right through between his legs and so forth. It would bend right here and come up. Even the branches of the tree. This is kind of the way alchemical art is. You always find hidden stuff in art. And so it bends. You see the bend, the way his body bends? And that's important because we see a fractal thing going on here. The brainstem and the angle of it that we see right here to where it bends is the same angle as the larger fractal of the spinal cord, or the spinal column, I should say. And so what we have here is a fractal situation. However, we still have to just take a look at the pyramid of the head. So with St. Joseph's Cathedral and that, and then finally there was one other one I wanted to show you that was a good clue to that. And that was the actual Egyptian tree that we see right here. Now if you notice, what I'm using is I'm using the Fibonacci spiral on this, because the Fibonacci spiral, the pineal gland is actually the center of this vortex. It's the center of the vortex. It's the very, very top of the pyramid, and it's where emanation occurs. And we're going to go into that in the eye of the triangle thing here. But take a look at what we've got going on here. On the right, you see the man kneeling. You see the tree trunk going through down there and into that, into this area right here. So this tree right here would be a larger head, and his eye, of course, is right in the middle of that tree again. And his foot and its placement. Take a look at the way that his foot looks. It's shaped like the back of the sacrum right here, and how the sacrum bends. And if you notice, that stem is going right through here, and we have the stem going through right here. So this is meant to show the same kind of a fractal, where you have the smaller guy inside the larger tree. But now let's take a look at what I believe I've pretty much solved. And that is just what the pyramid of the head is. So first of all, let's take a look at the upper left portion. When I first found this Eye of Horus on this throne and I started playing with it, I could tell that it was something that was supposed to match up anatomically to the human body. So the first thing to solve was how the Eye of Horus actually fit onto the brain. And so what we see right here is we see that the stem that's down here, this is the bottom of the brainstem, seats right at the bottom of that subchamber. These two pieces right here fit on the outside of the skull. There's two pieces on the outside of the skull that kind of are shaped just like that. And then we have, this is what I found was really interesting, is once I paid attention to this down here, this placement of the head, and he's got it turned around backwards because that's on purpose so that it doesn't look as conspicuous. But you can see that this chamber, this air chamber that comes down here and goes down into the subchamber, that follows the outline of the back of a head and neck. So if we come down here, we can see, and this right here, this spiral, that pushes on the back of the skull, and we have this line that follows down here and goes right into the neck, and then we have the brain stem, we have the pineal gland, we have the thalamus, and this area that you see right here, this trapezoidal area, right in here, that's where the pons fits in. So we have the brainstem coming up, the pons right here, and then we have our thalamus, and then we have our pineal gland right behind that thalamus. Now let's take a look. Now the only thing that has changed, nothing like as far as the eye placement, as far as the size of the pyramid, everything is exactly the same. The only thing that has changed is an MRI brain has been put on top of this thing. And here's what you'll find. That same chamber that comes down the back of the neck, you can see that it follows the outline of the skull. You can see that this spiral right here pushes against the edge of the skull. The throne right here sits right on top. You'll notice that the brainstem is exactly where it should be, and notice how it bends. The brainstem bends and the pons comes up. You have your thalamus right here exactly where it should be, and right behind the thalamus is the pineal gland. This area right here that sticks out is right next to where the pituitary is. That's where it's supposed to be as well. And you can see that the back of this Eye of Horus, this whole area, including if you take a look at the actual thick structure that you see back here, all of this follows the line of the head. So if I were to draw a vertical line all the way down, you can see that the back of the skull, the back of the brain, this area right here is where all of these things end, and you can see that that line follows right down the neck. And notice where his nose is located in relationship to the bottom of the pyramid. Well, let's come over here and take a look at this. It's in the same location. Now let's take a look at this something real quick I want to show you. Okay, so on this particular image, you'll notice that the king's chamber is sitting right where his brow is, and you see how where his eyes are in between these two different levels right here. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. We've already seen the king's chamber fits right where the pineal gland is, but here's those two levels that we saw on the other image, and here is his eye, and you can see that his eye fits right in between the two levels just like we saw on the other image. So the placement of this is correct. Now we need to figure out we need to figure out eventually what all of this means and how to make use of it. But I can tell you that from the various hieroglyphs to what I actually see in Egypt and nature itself, what I'm actually seeing in nature actually confirms all of this as well. So I wanted to show you down to the details just how accurate this is, and how the Eye of Horus and its placement works on top of the... You can even see that the angle of this bar right here, how the skull, how it opens up into the skull, and the angle of that bar is placed there just so you can see the opening of that. So all of these things are in line. And the only thing that's happened between this image and this image is that I've placed a brain on here. The eye and the pyramid are exactly the same. They're in fact duplicate copies of each other, except a brain's been placed. And so now when the brain has been placed on top of this, you can see that all of the Eye of Horus and everything is anatomically, and the pyramids, anatomically correct on top of this guy. And so that's what I wanted to show you guys tonight. So you guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon.